Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League presented by WTRL. We are out on the Big Foothills for week number 1 of this racing league. Now, this is a brand new racing league that was just launched. We have 10 weeks of racing, a premier division as well as a community division. We've been broadcasting all day long. It's been awesome, starting at 3 a.m. This morning with the APAC. We already did the European as well, and now we are into the Americas. The Americas East is what we're doing with the women, and the men will be covering them. We are going to be jumping also into some of the B pens as well with the men's side of things. So we have heard you. We are trying to cover as much of the community racing as we possibly can. Only so many feeds we can do on just 2 commentators. But I'm Nathan Guerra. This is Dave Towle. This is Zwift Community Live. And the WTRL Zwift Race League has been out of this world so far. All the feedback, it's been absolutely blowing us away, Dave.
100% success already, Nathan. It has blown up out there today. And I tell you what, this course was the perfect place to start. So we will be doing some team time trials in upcoming weeks, but it's a scratch race today. And I tell you what, it's the triple Lindy out there when you look at the 3 QOMs that we have. The first one traditionally today has been blowing the race apart. And we've got a very, very strong field that we're lining up. So we have a lot to talk about, Nathan. We'll take a look at the course that they're racing on here today. Very exciting times for the Zwift Racing League. I'm excited about OJ Borg's show coming up on Fridays. We're going to be highlighting, as you mentioned, the B categories. It's really cool to see what's happening in the community, as Tuesdays are community day here. And with, I think it's almost 1,000 men's team, over 200 women's teams, and the numbers are growing. Nathan, as far as I know, teams are still being put together as we speak.
Yeah, and we do have, as you can see in this graphic here now, the largest Zwift indoor racing league system is this league out on Zwift right now. This came out of essentially what WTRL was doing with the TTTT, and the team time trial became so popular, and they were such a great event organizer that it was like, let's just do this. So global league structure, 10 weeks of racing, 250 Zwift events, premier division, 6 leagues as well underneath that with the community, 60 divisions in total, 1,142 teams so far with 3 to 6 racers per team. Now, in the TTT, we need to say you need 4 racers, 4th race across the line, but in the scratch race, you can enter with 3. And that can continue to grow. This isn't stopped here. You can still get into the racing. All you got to do is head on over to WTRL.racing and sign up a team. Now, it is a team competition, so remember that. When you're signing up, this is not an individual competition. You got to be a part of a team. So go ahead, head on over there, jump in, and we can push over that 1,200 teams pretty easily. Registration opens back up next Wednesday. 9 more weeks to register. First season is open all the way through to get as many teams as registered as we possibly can.
This is America's East that we're racing. As Nathan mentioned, we've already traveled around the globe, basically. Next up will be America's West, but you're going to see a lot of Americans, Canadians, but we do have some riders from down under jumping in. It's a really interesting mix, but here we go. We are locked and loaded. Again, it's a 50-kilometer race today, and this is first of 10. Zwift Racing League begins right here, right now. 20 teams. We've got the men racing a little bit later, but Nathan, as I throw it back to you, we are locked and loaded. This is not a drill. Big time racing is back in esports on Zwift.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at the course for today for America's East and what's gone over throughout the day so far. Anybody who's tuned in for all the broadcasts has seen this graphic plenty, but for those just tuning in for the first time, this is the Big Foothills, 50.04 kilometers, 31.1 miles for the A and the B category. Watopia is where we are at. Titans Grove, that's going to be the first KOM. Then they're going to descend, head on over to Watopia forward climb. Then it's going to be the volcano climb, about a 7-minute. That's really the most decisive climb on the day for sure. These are the extra bonus points that you'll be able to get, the KOMs, each one of those 3. Then there's 30 points on the line at the finish. Now, in the C category, in the D category for those racers, they will finish on the top of the KOM for the volcano. So there's a little bit shorter, 35K,
okay,
whereas it is going to be across the finish line, 50K for those that are in the A and the B category. So that's where things are at when it comes to the course today.
So we talk about the course, we'll talk about racers and the scheme that we have, the system for scoring points. This is team-based. As Nathan mentioned, the points go 30 deep at the finish at the king or queen of the mountains. And you'll hear us, I like using that term preem that I've been hearing throughout the day because it is a race within the race. And those prizes will be points. Those points will be 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 in descending order. So the winner of the climb will get top bonification at 5 points. We've seen a couple riders today. Ed Laverick earlier racing in Europe won 2 KOMs and the race outright. We haven't seen any one rider collect more points. But again, Nathan, we'll take all of the points that you and your team earn, add them together, compare that, and rank you amongst all of the 20 teams. And that's, I'm so excited I'm punching my microphone.
Your mic's getting Lavericked. Ed mode.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so much going on, Nathan, and we could talk 10 more minutes about the scheduling and the schemes, but what's the most important thing? The racers themselves, and we have got quite a group for you here. I would start with Rachel Lieberman, the American on ATP Venom. She's obviously going to be a rider to watch. But Nathan, talk to me about the crux of this race, that volcano climb, because you've got to get over that in the front group to have any chance of winning today. It's been really imperative that you stay with the front group over the first KOM or QOM, and that's Titans Grove, then forward climb, then volcano climb before they hit the finish. And you get to finish, it's not long. That last, what would you say, 500, 600 meters, but it's a brute. You're sprinting up a wall.
Yeah, well, my prediction has been over and over again, first selection would be the Watopia forward. The real selection would be the volcano. And we have seen it a couple of times, but throughout all the races today, the levels as well as the regionalism, we talked about that a little bit earlier today, that we're starting to see this like who's who amongst regions now, whereas in some of the other more exhibition community organized races before, when it wasn't so well organized and it was kind of everybody just jumping in, not that those organizers didn't do a good job, but it was kind of a worldwide open. Whereas now we're starting to get these regions that have a lot of value on racing with your region. And that is kind of bringing the cream of the crop, I think, in each of those areas, which has caused the racing to be much more aggressive, it feels like, as well as it's splitting up a little bit earlier. So I was surprised to see the first KOM actually had a lot of splits early on in the racing earlier today. I was blown away. Or people are just like, I'm showing up with my A game. This is the real deal. This isn't just a Zwift training ride race for me today.
Can I sign off on all of those things? Because I think they all played a role. You've got a very motivated group. Everyone is really excited about getting the ZRL going. There's no doubt about that. The course plays into aggressive racing out here today, and also with the way that they've set up these bonus sprints. They're perfectly set up to really make this a tough race for every single racer out here. As a D racer myself, I have to say I'm glad to hear that they've got to finish at about 35K, and that's for the C's as well, because this is an extremely grueling course.
We're going to get you on the bike, and Kate's just going to take over, and you can just get on your bike and race the D category. That's what we'll do. No, I'm just kidding.
And I'll cruise along at 1.9 watts per kilo, right? So
America's
it might be better the other way around.
Vote and chat. We're going to get Dave on the bike. So we're speaking of who to watch, though, here, this is cool. I wasn't expecting this to be such a hotly contested zone, to be honest. And now I look through here and I'm like, wow, America's has some women's talent here, actually. And Finesse Wahoo, they're showing up with their own team now on the men's side of things. That was kind of the bolstering of it. And now, boom, they've recruited a bunch on over with Finesse Wahoo. Be on the watch out, Catherine Mox, Julie Audit, as well as Laura. I mean, they're kind of like what we saw with the CCNS earlier with the Mallards. I think they're going to be out here looking to put their name on the map up against teams we're all going to recognize. BRT, I Race Like a Girl, SARS to Pros Closet are out there as well. We're seeing Team Cryogen, Wadi Inc. Racing. I mean, this women's field is absolutely stacked in this East. Watch out. We saw the pickup. You said before the broadcast, Christina Grossman picked up out of New York there. That's the friend of Kristen Kolchinski, that just jumped over jumped onto 2020. Now we got another rider jumping onto one of these top esports teams that's just come through this past summer. Pretty amazing to see. Anna Russell, one of our commentators from this morning, she's going to be on here coming out of New Zealand. Very top level pro triathlete as well. So Lucy Brash from I Race Like a Girl, their whole team is out here with Angela Kidd as well. I mean, I could go on and on here. Revo's out here. Then CCNS also has a top team on the men's side and in the women's side of things. That's that Mallards team that we saw earlier, CCNS. I think they're looking to be on the map across all the zones here. So lots of talent. I'm so excited for this race. And let's go ahead and jump right on into it, as they're about halfway through their Fuego Flats now, and they're going to be heading into the first climb in probably about 5 minutes or so.
All right. Well, yeah, that's a great lead up, Nathan. Thanks a lot as we take a look at the peloton in full flight here. 7.5K into, it's almost exactly at 50 kilometers, a little bit more of racing out here. And the sting is in the tail with that finishing sprint on the climb, that the reverse. And so what's interesting is there's three major climbs before the finish, and that's Titans Grove reverse. So, all right, here we go. There's Rachel Lieberman right in the middle of the group. Nathan, that was really nice hearing you run through all of these teams. I'm going to go ahead and say it. This might be, on the competitive balance, the most interesting race that we have all day here. This is wide open. I would say there's a legitimate 15 women in this group that could lay claim to their chances of winning out here today. And that is a lot more than normal. So a lot of parity, if you will. And that makes for great racing. I love the Wadi Inc. team. They've got a real mojo to them as we look at Waltz right now. This is the A women. We've got racers all over the shop here today. The men will be out on course in a little while. So our producer, Nathan, will have his hands full jumping around from race to race, but we'll make sure that we capture all of the big moments and go back and look at the sprints that we have. And the first one will be coming up not all that far off here at Titans Grove. And those will be the first points ever scored. History being made here today as the America's East women are out on course.
Yeah, and here is Tilborn from that Wadi Inc. WA, as you can see here. Now toward the front, it is going to be the Bolt Racing team, it looks like, as well. There is Kid Lieberman, as you said, from CCI Race Like a Girl. We do see a couple of new names as well, though. ATP still involved here. Lots of Tron bikes here with those purplish pink wheels. And Thompson here, Cryo. Be on the watch out for Cryo. You know, earlier I saw a little bit of chat saying we were pretty quiet on the Cryogen racer in the European race, and bam, came out of nowhere with that aero power up and took down the sprint over the line. Amazing in the women's race. And so we'll see if they're going to show up again and let us know that the birds are here to fly, and that in the TTT, they're always using the Cryogen with those birds' names. And so to change it up a little bit here, though, we are seeing Cryo Gallop. It's going to be Gallopan, I believe, is going to be the name here. We're going to have to keep up, though.
Did they run out of birds?
Yeah,
they actually run?
Birds. Well, I mean, we got to keep up here, right, Dave? Like, we've got a whole new set of teams we're going to have to learn, as they've just all registered in the last 2 weeks.
I think the perfect example on that would be Z-Sun, right? They started with planets, and then when they went more than 10 teams and they started debating whether Pluto was a planet, they started using things like dwarf star, and then it turned out it was limitless. And that's part of the creativity that we see out here with so many different teams, Nathan. And we've seen that with the WTRL, and that's our partner here, World Tactical Racing League. What an awesome job they did. And when you look at it, what we've created is every single week there's going to be incredible community coming together and racing at every single level. I mean, there's never been a better time to get involved. And Nathan, what I'm really starting to love is the size of these fields and the depth. And you can really look at this group right here and see how it's going to be a complicated equation to win out of this race. And here we go. First real attack. It looks like right on cue. The Cryogen Gallopin team and Brady making it tough for them out there. It's almost all American and Canadian flags with a few down under riders. Anna Russell was noteworthy. I did want to mention Claire Cameron, another one of the Saris the Pros Closet riders, and El Radford. And so ATP Venom and Saris the Pros Closet on paper come loaded for bear.
Yeah, we are seeing Saris now making their way to the front, as you can see. So I think Saris looking to try and maybe take over, follow any moves that might be trying to get away here on this early part. And there's always the reality that if you do let a rider or two go, it is going to come back, but it's going to give you a little bit more work on the climb for the forward KOM. So as they do head into the first little lower hills of this climb, and they get into this to one of the first efforts, not letting anything get away can be a little bit of a smart move, but I think after watching all the racing earlier, or maybe being smart cagey risers, knowing this course, not a whole lot gets away here. I think a lot of these riders are playing their cards correctly.
Yeah, I mean, we really learned a lot. One of the things that's been interesting about this format is that we've raced on this course multiple times and watched really strong fields take this on. And I would have to say, Nathan, that typically I think we were all a little surprised how aggressive it was the first time on Titans Grove. But they have typically been taking this field and splitting it in half. And it looks like you are going to see a few riders as they start to push the accelerator down onto the floorboard here. A few riders will start to, if you don't have the good legs, this is where you really start to feel it. So this is one of the first moments that matters, to tell you the truth. You're not going to win the race here, that's for sure, but you can find yourself in trouble.
Saris toward the front. Interesting to see here. Now they are definitely on Discord.
Look at
Anna Russell.
Yep.
Saris TP here looks like Saris the Pros Closet taking over. And
their team, Nathan, so much depth on that team, right? It really benefits them to keep the pace super high. And I think you're going to see that from a few of the strong teams out here. It looks like the Wadi Inc. women are doing the same thing, and the Wahoo Chicks. That's another team that it's nice to see really coming together here, as we're starting to really see some shifts. Finesse Wahoo Chicks has Danielle Baker, Catherine Monks on that team, and these are two riders that I'd be watching as well. But that yellow and green jersey, I saw Kai Takashita talking about feeling like she was a lemon and a lime wearing the kit. She's another rider on that team and I agree, it stands out. It's a good looking jersey, Nathan, and it really pops, right? Easy to identify in the group. And it's good for us as commentators, but for racers, it makes a big difference. It's kind of hard sometimes to see what's going on up the road in Zwift.
Lots of colors that start to mesh together. So I have to agree with you there. But, one thing I just noticed, I thought that it was going to be BRT, because BRT used to use this Power Tap kit, but they've actually swapped over to their own in-game kit, actually. So the Power Tap kit that we're seeing here is going to be ATP. So when you're looking through here it looks like they're trying to stick with a yellow or orange Tron bike as well. So when you're trying to spot the jerseys in here, who's riding where, you can spot the ATP pretty easily, as they're all riding in this white, gray, and a little bit of orange accent. power tap kit, as you can see, is there's ATP all together, actually. W. Lin, as well as Price. Looks like trying to take over toward the front. Here comes Price now.
Certainly organized. Yeah, very organized here. No doubt about it. They have a plan. We've talked a lot about how the riders communicate, and that team must be on Discord. Same thing with Saris, the pros closet. All the squads now are using that available technology because it makes a big difference here. As I don't know, I feel a little bit of panic in this group right now. I think that they're starting to make a move out here as when you do see some of the bigger teams organizing on the front, that's going to have a ripple effect going back to the peloton where everybody realizes we might be going into a bit of a spot of bother here. And there you go. There's an attack. It looks like Coulson going clear.
Yeah, for sure. ATP on the move. They got the bodies to do it too. They got plenty of riders in this field, so they can risk a little bit of something, cause some chase here. This is organized, though. Lieberman's at the front as well at 5.6. They're not messing around, it looks like. Interesting to see that she's kind of pulling the pack along, though. Maybe just trying to keep the pace as high as possible. Cyrus covering that. Look at the yellow jerseys. 4 of them all right there, ready to pounce on anything that wants to go away.
It's so interesting, Nathan. Again, we've got our first QOM coming up. So 5, 4, 3, 8. So the most points available is 5. But one of the things that's interesting and different here is this is a numbers game. We've seen it today. Let's use Canyon Development. They put 6 riders into an 11-rider group. They couldn't lose at that point. They ended up putting 2 riders on the podium. But when you look at how it's scored, starting with 30 points for the winner down to 1 point for the 30th place rider, you add that in with a few KOM points along the way, and really getting 4 guys into that final selection, which I'm going to guess, Nathan, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the over-under for how big that group that goes into the finale is. But typically today, it's been about 10 riders.
Yeah, I'd have to say, over and over again, we have seen it split up a lot more than I expected. A lot of times in Zwift racing, you end up with a much larger pack, but this is a hard enough course that you have a lot of opportunity. And what's interesting, it is a progressively more difficult course. You start with this kind of undulating, a lot of drafting on this first climb. Then you get right on into a pretty sharp punch, but 2-tier, and then nothing but 7 minutes, maybe even 8 minutes. Everything you got, full-on effort to the top of the volcano. Then you get a pretty long reprieve, and then you got the finishing straight, which is essentially a minute and a half. What do you got to the top of the reverse KOM on this climb, actually, the other direction?
Holy cow.
Lieberman giving a go here. ATP, they're just throwing left and right. This is nonstop from them.
Nathan, they're going to blow it up. I'm going to tell you right now, I have a bad feeling for a lot of riders at the back of this group because Lieberman making a huge effort here. Look at the splits starting to open up back through that field. You look a little bit deeper and you see that it's going to be big trouble in River City back there. We might see 30 riders survive this effort. I would have to say that Lieberman is putting a lot of riders in trouble right now. And boy, Nathan, these names that you're looking at, riders sitting up in that chase group right now, it's the who's who of who we have racing with us here. So again, critical moment. They don't wait around. This race comes at you very, very hot and heavy here. So again, we're not even a third of the way in, and they are making a pretty serious selection right now. Rachel Lieberman is going to, I'm going to say, Nathan, take this down under 30 riders by the time that we have some kind of regrouping after the climb. And let's see if she can hold on and take maximum bonification, 5 total points at that first QOM. There's 2 more before the finishing sprint.
Russell now making her way to the front. Anna, 5 watts per kilogram, trying to pull things back a little bit, setting up the rest of her team. Look at the damage done. That's less than 15 riders. Looking back at those Tromboks behind, there's a split of about 5 seconds to that first chase group. Then another group behind that at 6 seconds. We're getting right into it, though. 2 seconds of difference. Jay Price now from ATP, now starting to open things up, as you can see. But will her teammate just hold on to it? That's right around the corner, but she's going to have to give a little bit of a kick because the orange numbers are going to start to pop. Price now up and out of the saddle. We can see it's going to be starts the pros closet, but ATP completely controlling this race.
Yeah, this is a really, really good job. And they're going to take a lot of points, make it, I think they get first, second, and third at that QOM, if I saw that correctly there, with Santoyo and Price after Lieberman. We'll see if that scores correctly when we look at the back-end API, but I've got Anna Russell and then Christina Grossman on her first ever ride for Saris the Pros Closet, and she's riding out of her mind. Great job by Christina Grossman here today. Nathan, this is the first selection. As let's see who we've got. And 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like Saris the Pros Closet riders. Finesse Wahoo looks like they're going to get at least 4 up into this group as well. The other team, obviously, ATP has got to be stoked. The ATP Venom team absolutely dominating on that first QOM.
Yeah, that was a very well put together attack, very organized from ATP. Stars to Pros Closet. We're able to get the 4th and 5th spot, but 3 riders up the front, and they're still, look at them working together here, making the pack do a little bit of work. They're getting in the super tuck, but Wadi Inc., Wahoo Chicks, as well as Stars to Pros Closet, they're not going to let this go. No way. They're putting 3 up, the road, all into super TT mode. So ATP, they'll be pulled back in, but it looks like this is going to be a danger for the rest of the teams because now they've just pulled another ATP rider back to this group. She could counterattack if she wanted to.
I don't know how long I'll be able to keep doing this, Nathan, but that means you've got 12 points there already scored for ATP Venom, 3 points for the Saris Pros Closet team, and that is it. So only 2 teams would be on the board having scored any points, with the Lionesses' share going to ATP Venom. Again, 12 total points with the 5, the 4, and the 3 that they would have collected, the 2 and the 1 going to Saris the Pros Closet. So, all right, well, that scores that first QOM, and clearly, Nathan, you put it together very well there. That was extremely well organized. They executed a plan to perfection, and Jarvis can't believe it either. He flopped over.
I love Jarvis the Bear is amazing. I absolutely love that he's on the side.
I love that too.
I wonder if he's going to fall again. No, he's just hanging out here. He's going to take on this little bit of a climb, looking for the honey. As as you can see on the left-hand side of the road here, Jarvis he doesn't care about the race. He's just hungry. He's done with his training.
Jarvis being Jarvis, yeah. That's for sure. It's one of the Easter eggs that I love seeing out here on this platform. We're on Watopia right now, which is certainly the original world that this whole thing started as we pick up McRae right now. So again, it's always interesting. We saw some amazing chasebacks today, Nathan. We saw a couple of riders defy all odds and rejoin in a situation like this. So that's one of the great things about having Nathan as the producer, is he's pulling for those riders too back there. And if we see anybody making any progress, we'll be sure to let you know, right, Nathan?
Yeah, and we did see a lot of amazing rides earlier today where they just did not give up, but I'm seeing at 43 seconds here. This is 23 seconds. That was actually a mistake on my part, though. Shihan and the rest of this group could make it back if they slow down up front. We'll have to wait and see if they kind of start to look at each other.
You need a little luck.
They might be looking at that climb coming up, though, Dave, and thinking, that's a punch in the gut. Let's just hold off a little bit. A lot of times you're looking at the main sections to rest up for. We'll see if they're motivated, though.
I would like to make this point, Nathan. Right now, you're in the money, as we say. You're in the points because these riders would still be in the first 30, no doubt. That front group, right now, in my mind, I have it at about a dozen riders. So we score all the way down to 30th. So that being said, then, you're in a group that's in the hunt. You should keep working with that group and try to think about the group behind you as well, right? Take some inventory, but blowing yourself up trying to catch a group that you're probably not going to catch and then losing points is not ideal. So you have to look at the big picture, and that's part of what we're looking at here. This is a sport that's always been really interesting in that it's a team sport, and a lot of people, Nathan, have said, like at the Olympic road race, shouldn't everyone on that team get a gold medal when your nation wins because you helped that rider, right? You chased back some breakaways, you closed down some gaps. It doesn't work that way. The individual gets the glory in a team sport, but this is why I love what we're doing with WTRL. And go to WTRL.racing. Go online if you want more information about how all of this works. But here, the story is really going to be the depth of your team, your ability to start stacking up points like cordwood. It's not going to be about having one superstar rider winning a lot. It's going to be about stacking the top 10.
Looking at the chase, this is a third chase group out here, and you were talking about in the money still, in the point still. 24 seconds up is a no-risk situation, because with Rodriguez back here, this is 30th. Last point is going to be amongst this team, and that might matter at the end of the day with this group right here, who's going to take those points. And with a lot of racing yet to go here, there's still 30 plus K to go in this race. They can bring that group up ahead back. There could be riders that fall out of that group, end up solo, chase them down. This isn't over by a long shot for any of these racers for being able to put points on the board for their team and get that 20 overall points for the league. But we do have some attacks here opening up, as you can see, from that chase group. They got sick and tired of sitting around watching each other, it looks like, and they're like, take some pulls or I'm going. And that's what Mac Ray did from BRT, because she does not want to let that main group go, it looks like.
Hey, nobody likes having a rider sitting on, right? And when you feel like they really need to take a pull and they don't, it gets to the point where you're like, look, I need to drop you then. And that can be really, when you look at a chase group, it can be hard to get everybody synced up and working on the same page, because so many riders have ulterior motives. There are some riders that are saying, no, I'll sit on, and so obviously everybody is playing out the race from their perspective, and you have to let the game play as we roll past 20K in right now, 50 total K out here. And the next thing we're really going to be looking for will be that second queen of the mountain sprint coming up at forward climb. This is actually one of the tougher climbs that they're going to see today. It's a 6% average for quite a ways, so that's relatively steep. None of this is mind-blowing to these women. This is another day at the office, except for the fact that the heightened excitement about getting the Zwift Racing League underway. And again, this is the America's East division that we're looking at right now. And you can see these hardworking racers are just coming up on the middle point. 50K of total racing out here today. And we have seen it's not a breakaway, Nathan. There's a big difference, isn't there? This is really what survives after a tough first queen of the mountain, a little bit of regrouping. This is what you'd call the selection.
We do have the men's side of things, and this is the great question coming on through from the YouTube. Brian Larson, we got you. No problem. And here you go. And the A category for the men's, the Bs are chasing them down, a little ways behind. They started a minute later than them, but the men's race will be covered, and this is going to be no other than Jordan Shane. And we saw Jordan racing throughout
Canadian.
The Canadian top rider for Elevate Webplex. Watch out for him. We saw him take some big races here over the spring. And I think Jordan is a big favorite, especially on this course.
I couldn't agree more, Nathan. 100%. Jordan is really well suited for this. He's going to be remotivated him as well. And as you said, he's had success on esports and in real life. He's out of Western Canada, lives in Vancouver, and certainly is one of the North American racers that esports or in real life is someone you want to keep your eye on. We're really just jumping in now. They're 11 kilometers in as we take a look at the Elevate Webplex rider, Jordan Shane, but there's a lot of names to look at in this group. As a matter of fact, Nathan, it's nice to see James Hodges. I don't know how James Hodges is possibly racing today, as he is absolutely one of the masterminds behind the inner workings of Zwift, but a lot of respect for James Hodges. He's one of the giants whose shoulders we stand on to even be able to race like this, and certainly giving a shout out to all of our friends at Zwift as well with WTRL, as this series is absolute dynamite. This course was a perfect place to start. We're going to be rotating each week now. The same teams will be racing. One week it'll be this format. Next week it will be the team time trial, and then we'll be back to scratch racing again. So it'll be 10 weeks of racing. The points will all be added together each race for the teams, and then we'll have a whole new points table that we have them in as we work our way to a series champion. And then, Nathan, one of the things that I love is the top teams will receive in-game kit and be promoted up to the next division.
Now we do have,
just like the English Premier League.
Looking at the women's side of things here real quickly, I don't want to miss this climb. Lieberman put in a solid counterattack here. Russell was on the attack from Saras TPC, but kind of led things out for Lieberman to launch, and ATP again on the attack here. and able to take down some points by a solid 4 seconds, actually. Will the other rider here challenge Russell to the line? It looks like Russell trying to hold off. That's going to be 1 point. She's just trying everything she can to scrape her way to the line. 7 watts per kilogram. One more little bit of a kick, but not going to be happen. The speed, too much from ATP. She's going to have to settle for third. Starts the post closet coming across the line. It looks like for fourth, followed up by also Rathwell. Megan back out on course, it looks like, out of Canada. And it looks like a breakaway situation now that could form. Megan Rathwell, though, going to have to get back on terms. There's an arrow power up to try and make this happen. She's going to need all of that speed, though. Radford, not sure that the chase is going to be coming in. Actually, no, it does look like having Gallopin here with Cryogen as well as Finesse Wahoo, they're going to be motivated to bring this back together, I believe. But those 4 or 5 up front, they're most likely to start working together with Lieberman, and that could be the race moving move because there's not very organized behind there, Dave.
Yeah, well, there's not a lot of horsepower to chase back these very strong riders. Nathan, to put some perspective on this for you, with 30 points available for the outright win here, this team, talking about ATP Venom, the way it's going, if they do the same at the next bonus Queen of the Mountain, they will already have the equal of those 30 points. I mean, they're piling it on right now. They've taken first, second, and third, and then another first and second because Santoyo has done a really, really good job of backing up Lieberman here. And Rachel Lieberman is en fuego, on fire, no doubt about it. As they work their way through the middle part of this race, they're going to have a hard time reining in Rachel today.
Yeah, Lieberman's been absolutely dominating each one of the sprints so far. We do seem to have the preems. Zwift power seems to have stabilized. It's those Europeans that absolutely just take over when it comes to the cycling world. This is the situation after the first couple of preems. Now it is a teams-based competition, so we'll have to do a little bit of math here. As we do not have a teams-based board yet, but Lieberman, Jennifer, 17 points plus 4. We're looking at 21 then total for ATP Venom. Then 2 points.
Make it 23.
Is it going to be 23?
Make it 23 when you add Radford in as well. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So stacking it.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So, yeah. And this is everybody who's scored points, right? So you can see the Sarah's Pros closet has got the 5 and the 1 for 6. That's good for second. And then Finesse Wahoo in third with 1 point. That's what you call domination, but it's not over. Remembering that we have one more Queen of the Mountain and then the finale with 30 points for the winner. But yeah, I mean, talk about getting out in front of it. This is like prepaying your taxes, right? They are all paid up. They're flush right now. And we're still looking at a really good situation. So Rachel Lieberman has got the other teams chasing. And Nathan, it's really Sarah's the Pros closet and ATP Venom that are locking horns at the front. We're going to jump back in with the men. Look at all the power-ups being deployed. A lot of feathers all over the place.
Yeah, Finesse Wahoo, this is the team that really wants to show what they're worth out here, I think. And watch out for them. Very organized team. I know that's for sure. And Alex Henselhoff here, he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. But we've got Canyon like a canyon here, dear Les. It's going to be Alex. What's he going to be able to do? But no, it's going to be Henselhoff making a move with Wahoo Fitness. 7 watts per kilogram. Lots of power being blown. Valera there from Wadi Inc. trying to come through. But James Hodges. Here comes Jordan Shane, though. James Hodges. I think Hodges might have nipped it. What a move by KRT. Did he grab that at the line? I'm going to have to wait for the replay that we made a quick little jump over. Hodges might have made that happen, though.
Yeah, we'll look at that back-end API, but that really could go either way. And then Roy, the Canadian, in third as well. Again, I am so impressed that we were able to get the leaderboards back up as it has been absolutely bananas. How are you going to score that, Nathan?
I think he just held on, but we'll have to wait for the preems here and see what they have to say. But I think that was so close. Let's go back here one more time. We can see it in reverse. Might give us a better idea, as right there at the line, you can see Hodges coming through, I believe, for second, and holding on will be Yankees from Finesse, I believe. So solid results all around, though. There's the replay. And now the descent and the chase back. And this has been the section where we weren't expecting things to break apart, but they have almost every single race.
And it's close to doing the same thing, but Nathan, not quite. This is the gap that has me concerned right here. It looks like about 30 riders with another 20 or so ready to marry this back together, and they've done it. So Yeah, there are going to be some riders who do come out of the group here. They're punching tickets out there, but not quite as dramatic as what we'd seen in some of the earlier time zones today. So this is it then. So we've now completed the first King of the Mountain climb for the men. The women are a little further up course. Wisely staying with Jordan Shane here. This is one of the riders to watch here today. It's going to be really interesting. This every race has its own storyline. Look how many riders, Nathan, are going to rejoin here. It's like the Bering Strait right behind, right? I
Look
mean,
at the
there's
last
at
two
least
riders, like just
yeah.
almost there, like
Oh, that
so
hurts.
close. Oh, I mean, that's one punch if you got it, but if you don't, you're in just absolute suffering. So that's what's happening on the back there. We'll see if they can make it happen, because if they do, they've got a free ride essentially all the way into that forward Watopia climb. But you got to make it happen now, or else this is game over.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was something that we saw as well. It's a little bit heartbreaking when you see a rider make a valiant chase back into the front group only to get dropped again as they start the next climb. But that's what this sport is all about. You just got to keep fighting out there. And that never say die attitude is fundamental. That is a cornerstone of what makes an elite cyclist. And Nathan, this group is moving right now. You can see just by the shape of that group that they're definitely not playing around. We're going to start jumping around and looking at other riders. I think this is a rider trying to chase back right now, Nathan.
B category.
In the
I
B
wanted to catch him.
category.
I
There
wanted
we
to catch
go.
this.
Yep.
We really focusing on the descent there with
Awesome.
that A category, but M Tate here did take it down. It looks like from ATP. It is going to be Turco here from Wadi Inc. Then Bellinger with Mercury Cryogen as well. Matt Noble as well as JMCK here. These are going to be the Zwift HQ Rockets. Steve Beckett is here as well, hammering away in the Zwift Racing League.
Whoa.
Talk about getting involved and racing in on the platform. Pretty cool to see. And the Rockets now showing up B category. And Beckett is sitting in a top 10 situation just about. I mean, come on.
That's in the mix. Holy cow, Steve. Great job out there. Nathan, this is fun. I am so glad you were able to jump in here as we take a look at the vanguard for our B-man. Again, Steve Beckett is a friend of many of us out here in the Zwift family, and he is more than holding his own out here. So, all right, let's see who else we have. Michaud of the Polo Velo team here. Boy, Nathan, look right behind them. There's about, you see a few smattering of riders, and then the next group of about a dozen looking to rejoin. So they're going to want to keep the pressure on. The Zwift headquarters Rockets are having a great ride here today, and they're twisting the throttle right now. The accelerator is down on the floorboard here because they don't want to let anybody rejoin this group. So tactically astute racing by the Rockets here.
Yeah, and there's the chase group trying to get back on terms here. This is that 8% little bit of a punch leaving the Titans Grove, and that's going to be Cryogen trying to make something happen here. But this is one of the most difficult sections because you try and recover, you're on the chase, usually still well over into the hurt locker. Looks like D. Alex here from the Diesels here out of the US of A leading the charge. That's going to be the Dirt Diesels. They're on one of the most expensive bikes in Zwift, actually. That's going to be that S-Works here. Hammered away with the full Zip 858. A lot of drops being spent there for that speed. Looks like one rider falling off pace. This can be free riders. 149 beats per minute. Interesting. Maybe going backwards to try and give a wheel because that does not look like too much suffering, or maybe just inattentive for a moment. But TFC now almost being dropped at 192. So obviously a lot of these riders really hurting as they're just looking for a wheel now.
Again, this is the B category race. You would not know that by watching these guys, as it is extremely active out there. This is the vanguard, the selection that has been made. They're coming up on 18K. And now the A's and the B's are doing the full course out here today, which is 50 kilometers of racing. The C's and the D's, they've got a reasonable it's still an extremely tough day of about 35 kilometers from tip to tail out here, start to finish, as we take a look at everybody who's in this group right now. You want to take a look around because there's going to be another selection made. This group is relatively large right now as we get a good look here, though, at the men. Augustin, the Rhino rider, another interesting name in this group, Nathan.
And let's go ahead and jump on over. The women are about to start their climb up the next section, the real selection point out on course. So we're going to jump in here and see Lieberman did get caught on that flatter section, leaving the Watopia forward. They've gone through the volcano one time now. They go one more time through it and then on over toward the volcano climb. So it's going to be a left-hand turn in just a moment here into the lava section. And go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, Nathan, I think that Lieberman, more than attacking the race, was putting pressure on Saris. What is your thought on that? Because I don't think that was an all-in attack, to tell you the truth. I think that she's just right now softening up that Saris, the Pros Closet team, because you can see they've still got 4 really strong riders in this group. And, I mean, you start to run the numbers here. ATP Venom, which is the team on the front right now, I don't even know how I'd quite describe this jersey, but maybe white, black, and blue is the best way to put it. It almost looks like the AG Duzer, the AG2R jersey from the World Tour. But not quite, though, because there's that little bit of orange. But then the yellow and green is going to be the Saris, the Pros Closet team, as we kind of work our way around. But, I mean, half of the riders in this group are representing those 2 teams, along with Finesse Wahoo, who's having an outstanding day here today. Who are the outliers, Nathan, here? I'm trying to figure out who I'm missing now, because just about those 3 Cryo. There you go. I've been selling Cryo short today. Brady, the Cryogen rider up there. And I love that team too. No doubt about it. Cryogen is absolutely awesome. So they've got a rider in the mix here as well, Brady.
Yeah, earlier today, Cryogen
they were fantastic.
Keeping it quiet, keeping it super quiet amongst one of the women's races, and ended up taking the win because of the patience that the rider had. Didn't take a lot of the sprints early on, or the preems early on, and then next thing you know, cross the line, that's where it was. So now the solo riders at this point, as you did point out, is going to be Team Cryogen with Alana Brady. And then it's going to be Lucy Brash as well with Sisu I Race Like a Girl. So Lucy Brash, Alana Brady isolated amongst it. Maybe they could work together though a little bit. Most likely going to keep it quiet. But if these other 3 teams, Wahoo, Finesse, Saris the Pros Closet, as well as ATP, if they start fighting a little bit, tiring each other out, there might be a little bit of a chink in their armor. Boom, these 2 go off the front. They could work together. You can have these unsaid agreements like, hey, we're kind of singled out here. Why don't we work against these big teams?
If I'm Alana or Lucy, Nathan, I just lay back and say, don't worry about me. I'm just along for the ride. You ladies do what you do. You look so strong, so powerful, great racing. Again, don't worry about me. I'll just be over here. And then hopefully they don't pay attention to you in the finale and you can sneak away. I love the psychological, the head games that go on out here. But certainly, let's be honest now. Talk some bike racing 101. If you're either Alana or Lucy, there's no reason you should take any polls right now. You should be able to just look at the other teams. And if they give you any indication you need to do some work, you just shrug and say, are you kidding me? You've got 4 teams in this group. So it's a really interesting dynamic, isn't it? You have to look at what is the upside of your situation in life. And every now and then you can find an upside in what seems like a tough situation.
Going to really quick here make a jump over to a replay of what we just had happen in the men's race. The camera's going to jump around just for a second here. Canada 4i with Moonier here in 13th place, but up ahead there was quite the battle going on. We will jump there and it does jump on over in just 1 second here. There it is. We see Wahoo trying to make something happen, unable to do so. Jordan Shane pushing through, but no, it's KF with, I believe, Gagnon and Shane across the line for 1, 2, and 3. Let's take another look at this real quick. But this just went down, and then we'll jump in with the men's race and see how things are playing out after this climb. But it does look like, is it going to be across the line? Did we have... Yep, it's going to be KF, followed up by Webplex, I believe, just barely, with Jordan Shane, who's actually riding for Finesse. I believe is that's not correct.
Oh, there you go. That's the blue.
That's why in the blue there, followed up by ODZ, and then actually Pure Ficati's out here, taking 6th. It looks like, too bad there, but Pure Ficati, one of the first men's winners for an in real life race. So that's the situation. This is the situation amongst the women now. Russell, Lieberman, and Grossman off the front. So ATP, ATP and Saris the Pros Closet off the front by 4 seconds now at this point. Wahoo getting left behind in the women's race.
Grossman channeling her inner Kolchinski right now. As these ladies can climb, I'm surprised how many talented athletes we've got coming out of New York City, as this is very, very interesting, Nathan, to see that Lieberman has got two riders from the Sarah's Pros Closet team, Grossman and Russell. Wow, this is going to be a complex equation, and Lieberman will not want to work with these two riders here. But again, she's got a lot of real estate ahead of her to play with, as they're going to be looking at. So this race really goes to just over 50 kilometers. So we're at about 17K to go. What a dynamic we are witnessing here in our women's A race, Nathan. Lieberman, who I think has shown herself, in my opinion, she's shown herself to be, if not the strongest, certainly one of the strongest women in this field, is in a less than ideal situation with two riders from the same team. And let's be honest, Anna Russell is a veteran. She's actually a colleague of ours, one of the most knowledgeable Zwifters I know. She knows the game, and she's a world-class triathlete racing out of New Zealand. What time is it in New Zealand, Nathan? Isn't it like 3 a.m?
I believe we're looking at, as far
or
as
maybe
New
not.
Zealand goes. No, I believe it's it's earlier in the day at this point. So
it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow, essentially. Yeah. So I think she's looking at probably at 8 a.m. or something along those lines. So or around maybe a little bit earlier.
It's not outrageous then. Right. I'm kind of thinking when we do the middle of the day. Yeah. So anyways, this is really interesting now, as Rachel Lieberman here is the rider in the gray and orange. That's the ATP Venom team. Anna Russell, you can see the flag of New Zealand there being flown. I do see this coming back together a little bit here, Nathan. That was not ideal there for anyone except for Sarah's the Pros Closet, to tell you the truth. If I am Lieberman, I would like to get my teammates back. I would hit the reset button here.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what's going to be happening, as they're all coming back together. They thought perhaps they could get away, not able to do so. Does weld it back together. Now, Sisu, I race like a girl, kind of taking over. But again, being a solo rider, I'm not sure. Well, now Russell's saying no. I thought it was going to come back together here, but Russell's like, this ain't happening. I'm back in the front. And now Lieberman responding. So, they got a little close. They were within striking distance. It was like 1 second, but now Sarah's Pros Closet says no. If you want to come back, you're going to have to work for it. And Wahoo Chicks and ATP, they might let this go. And having two of the bigger teams up ahead, it's going to be up to Wahoo perhaps to chase this down like an actual real chase down effort, not just kind of, rolling along at a steady, but this is going to have to be a full-on effort coming from some of the other teams. And Sisu realized it. Lucy sees it. She sees that Cyrus and ATP, they're not going to chase this down. She knows that might get away with 6 seconds. She also has some points on the line here, as you can see. So with those points on the line, she's looking for that 2 or 1 with 4th and 5th across the line.
Yeah, this is a really interesting situation here, because I think that Sarah's the Pros Closet is the one that has the benefit, but now Lieberman has just decided to go ahead and start working here too. So this seems to be really in the balance right now. That advantage sitting at about 5 seconds. It's gone down, gone back up. And again, it's interesting to see that Lucy Brash is the one leading the chase out here right now. So Rachel Lieberman at some point, Nathan, is just going to go all in with this move, but really savvy riding from Anna Russell. And how about Christina Grossman today? She's a big part of this conversation, just added to the Sarah's Pros Closet team, and certainly proving her worth out here today. So this is the gap. This is the danger that Lieberman goes solo, and it looks like Anna Russell's going to have to respond to this.
I think Anna and Christina, if they stay together, don't have to worry too much about it. But if they let too much of a gap go, as you're seeing happen here, now with 2 riders gone, Grossman can settle down if she wants to go back to that pack back there. Russell, though, actually wants some points, it looks like here. She moves ahead, says, okay, I got to go. Grossman has to let it go. They're most likely communicating at this point, and Grossman's like, go, do your thing. Russell jumps on board, grabs Lieberman's wheel here, and now it's getting really tactical. Grossman, I think, is going to go back to the pack she's going to get over the top here, trust the pack to drag things back together, because I think with only 2 riders, unless Lieberman really gets dedicated to a move and has the effort, I'm not sure it can get away solo.
I actually, so beautiful. Every now and then in racing, you have to agree to disagree. I think that these two are going to be gone now. I think that they're going to start working together here, as Anna Russell is super strong. Lieberman is the class of this field, and this climb is doing damage to the legs of these riders. So this is a red alert moment if you are anybody but ATP Venom or Saris the Pros Closet. Really, that's a majority of their teammates are in that group right behind them. Russell, this is going to be the third and final QOM. Anna Russell's going to get it.
I did not think she was going to get it. Anna, the timing, the patience coming from Anna Russell. What a move by the Kiwi here. Santoyo now ATP. Next one across the line, I believe, followed up by Christina Grossman, then Radford. Again, ATP dominating the points when it comes to these preems. Lieberman says, come on, let's go. Russell says, flattens out here, and maybe Lieberman is going to go away. With the pack being this splintered, you might have been right there, Dave. This kind of a splintered pack's not going to have the snowball effect. There's no avalanche coming after her at this point. She solos this. It might be over.
You've got 3 strong racers chasing 2 slightly stronger racers, right? There's no 30-rider group bearing down on you. I think that, and again, that's the beauty of this. I'm wrong more than I'm right, that's for sure. But Rachel Lieberman and Anna Russell, I believe that these two are gone. I think that this is the race-winning move, and it's slowly happening in front of our eyes. Again, that's going to be Rachel Lieberman now, who's trying to punch Anna Russell's ticket, and that's a big move. Lieberman is just pressuring this race now. Over and over she has hit. This is the 3rd time that we've seen her go clear. Now, unless
I'm gonna say
it's Anna Russell that's the front.
No. Lieberman's gone, but
she's
Anna
gone.
Russell,
okay, good. Yeah.
Anna Russell is pulling a mad scientist at this point. She knows the game. And my opinion on this is she knows if she gets together with her teammates and the rest of this pack, they can let Lieberman get a little bit of a leash, waste a lot of energy up there, and bring her back without nearly as much of energy expenditure. I think that was a tactical move, and she wants to win the race and let Lieberman hang herself out there.
Well, you make a great point. So she does get up there, talking about from Anna Russell's perspective, the New Zealander, that she gets the top points for the Queen of the Mountain, goes back to the safety of this group where she has 3 very strong teammates here. And other than that, I mean, so even if the other riders aren't cooperating, she's got enough help that I think what you're saying, and I could see the angle here, is they're giving just enough rope to Lieberman that hopefully she hangs herself. But I'm going to stick with my guns, and I'm saying that Lieberman is all in for the win, and I think that she can do it. I really do. It's going to be a brutal 12K holding off this group, however. But Lieberman, without a doubt in my mind, is the strongest rider. Although it's not always the strongest rider that wins, Nathan, you make an exceptional point. And Anna Russell's in-depth knowledge of the game of Zwift, also being a world-class triathlete, is a huge advantage for Russell and the Saris the Pros Closet team. So are they playing the cards correctly? Probably. Does Rachel Lieberman have a lot of heart? Absolutely.
Lieberman here still 4.7 watts per kilogram. She is committed to this move. She's within sight still. If the chase starts looking at each other, I'm not positive that there's a lot of energy left in that group, but within 4 seconds and the reality of the avalanche that's coming with that snowball effect, plus, like you said, the teammates there, Russell's got teammates that she can just put on the front, do the work, try and get the win.
We can go point counterpoint here though, Nathan, because this is a scenario I could see. So Saris the Pros Closet, the responsibility of this chase is entirely theirs with 4 riders in that chase group. The question though becomes when they complete the chase, if they make the catch, and I have to admit, it's certainly, I mean, it's not a huge gap. She's just sitting out there about 4 seconds ahead of Danielle Baker. So if they make the catch, watch out for Santoyo, her teammate, Lieberman's teammate on ATP Venom, because that would be tactically astute. Santoyo has been up there. Clearly, she's on a good day today. And I would not be all that surprised that if Saris the Pros Closet is able to make the catch, that they would have to deal with a brutal attack from Santoyo.
Now, a little bit of a move here going off the front. Is that going to be Cryo making a move?
It is.
Early move here. Is that going to be Brady? Now, making a little bit of a 6 watts per kilogram here, putting some work in, interesting enough. Might have been an attack even to try and go across.
And where's ATP? Yeah, I mean, excuse me, where is the Saris team, right? I mean, they're not leading this chase right now.
No, and Rathwell, I think, is really struggling. It looks like off the back, trying to get back on terms over and over again here. Usually Rathwell,
Very
more of a
interesting.
punchy rider. So we'll see perhaps the final KOM, or Queen of the Mountain, they might be waiting for that. We're over all the preems at this point, so it's going to be nothing but that 30 points across the line they're going to be looking for.
I'm scratching my head, Nathan. What do you think when you see Brady and Brash leading the chase with 4 Saris ATP riders in this group? That's a pretty unique situation, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it's interesting to see.
You're not going to see that much.
Look at this. Yeah. Grossman, actually, after that effort of trying to hold on, is off the back here. So maybe what's happening is they're like, we got a rider off the back. Let's just sit. Let Grossman get back if she can. Let these other riders do the work. They're coming back. You know, Lieberman's coming back. Lieberman's within 1 second. It's happening, right? So let her be caught and let our rider get back on terms here. That's our new rider. Have 4 amongst them.
That's, that makes some sense to me. Certainly that's a fine line to walk, but I think that you're right. It looks like they're going to do it because Lieberman's going to come back into this group. You can expect another Rachel Lieberman attack, however. We're not done discussing her, but that does play out well. Saris, the pros closet, didn't lose anything there, and maybe Grossman is able to rejoin, although it doesn't look super likely right now to me.
Now, yeah, I'm not sure. That gap is pretty big, about 10 seconds at this point. They're going to have to really start looking at each other, not really care too much. But we do see it drop down to 2.6. That's the numbers we need, that in order to have something to come back, because 3.5 to 4.5 is going to bring it back. So back in with the men's racing, though, they are on to their climb. These ladies, they're going to make their way around the volcano, back to the volcano one time, over to the piers, and then the final Queen of the Mountain climb for 30 points that's on the line on the race win today. But this is the situation on the climb for the men's A race. Justin Pierre-Facade, the first one to win in Las Vegas in the first ever live event for Zwift racing that ever happened, took it down with a solo attack up against GP Lama himself, actually, with a sprint to the line after he got caught. So Pierre Facati, this is a guy who knows how to race out on Zwift, a qualifier for live racing. We've got plenty of talent here that's making this front group. They're halfway up the KOM here. Now there's 5 points at the top. Finesse, look at all these blue jerseys. Tons of finesse still involved here.
And again, if you want to talk about being in the money or the points, if it goes 30 deep at the finish, and now these guys have one more King of the Mountain to contest. It comes right at 35K in. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I have them with one more King of the Mountain before they move into the finale for their race here. So that should hot things up. It's certainly, they have been contested without any doubt. As we look at, let's see here. Yeah, 35K in is where that the final KOM is, or preem, as we've been calling them out here today. Look at the numbers, though. Jordan Shane starting to hit out. It's getting used to this new blue jersey here for Jordan, or a different blue jersey for Jordan Shane than here, and he's getting a little bit of a gap, Nathan. I think he can sniff that KOM.
Yeah, it does look like it. Jordan Shane with a very early attack. Usually these don't play out because there is a little bit of a downhill in the middle. Well, it goes down for just a moment, and then it's right into like a 2 or 3% grade. Now we're at that 4% grade. A lot of times it's just a little bit too much of a draft in order to try and get away like this. But Jordan is the kind of athlete that can push 6.5 to 8 watts per kilogram for this minute and a half that he has on this climb here. Walter Zwart says, yeah, Landis, we need to get back on terms here.
Jordan Shane might be a level 50 Zwifter, Nathan. Look at that bike underneath him as well. He's got the best of the equipment out of his garage, that's for sure. He might have as many drops as you.
I'll just leave. I'm
a billion.
Billion drops with Jordan Shane. But my question is, Walter Zwart must have got picked up by somebody here.
Let's figure that out.
ATP Hydrogen in the name. Does ride for Landis Trek when it says as far as his Zwift power, but I'm seeing ATP Hydrogen in the name. And as I look through, that is going to be the team with Michael Scafardi, Nathan LaRaza, Peter Lorman, as well as Peter Reed, Matt Golden. So that's the situation here. ATP Hydrogen is who we're watching out for here. That's going to be working alongside of Wouter Zwart. Might have Landis in the name for the tag here, but
Yeah.
riding for ATP out there today.
Yeah, Nathan, just a quick explanation. Because of the team format here, these riders have had to, and you're going to see there'll be a little catch up being played with changing their team names because, it's been all over the place through this last summer here in North America and Europe. But now that we're locked down with the ZRL, the Zwift Racing League, and this is the first of 10 races that make up season one, these guys are on teams. It's really important that we be clear about that. And that would explain why you're seeing riders like Jordan Shane. And here we go. The KOM is just a few meters away here. Let's see who's going to pick up the points again, scoring this 5 deep. And these points are all added to your tally here. Wow, what a shot that is. And there's the finish.
Just walks away with that one. Like nothing. Arana, then Shane gets it for Wahoo Fitness. And then below, I believe, followed up by Pierre Ficati trying to battle it out there with Heights from the Dirt Alert team here. So solid effort there all around, but just Alex Tenselhoff throws down and gets the points there for Finesse Wahoo.
Nathan, my up feeling has always been one of the biggest differences when people ask between esports racing and in real life racing. It's not the climbing, it's the downhills. And you really never get a break when you're out here. You have to continue to work. And we have seen quite a fefew races that are won and lost on the descent because the races really keep working out here. And this is going to be Fu, the cryogen rider here on this Tron bike that is pushing now. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, Cryogen really showing up on the day here, as you can see, and Fu walking away. He's got about 3 seconds. I don't think it's going to go much of anywhere, but it's a solid little bit of effort and might make a little bit of speed in the group because of this. That could cause some damage at the back. I do like to do this when I'm racing where I know that there's people suffering. They're trying to get back on terms. And if I give a little bit of effort that doesn't waste too much, it doesn't really dig too deeply into my reserves, it is actually worth it to increase that speed of the group because the other riders who are trying to chase, they're not coming back.
You're like the Undertaker of racers out there. Once they're in trouble, you make sure that they end it. And that's not a bad way to race, to tell you the truth. That's one of the things that you really learn is if you allow riders to hang around, that can come back to haunt you later. If you can put someone out of the group and eliminate them, you need to do it. And here we go. Really aggressive racing going on right now as we take a look at James Hodges, one of the favorites that we've got here, the KRT racer, and he's putting in a big dig out here right now. I know a lot of folks around the world will be cheering for James Hodges right now. He's getting place up currently. There.
Yep. Yeah, he's trying to get back. He used that arrow power up, and that's what we were talking about. These riders knew there were riders up the back. This is the kind of move you got to make to try and get back on terms. Now it's the orange numbers again through the downhill, and it looks like it's going to happen here for these riders playing it really
He would know
smart.
better than anybody. Yeah, wouldn't James Hodges know better than anyone, Nathan, what it actually takes physically to rejoin this group? And here he is doing it. Doctor, heal thyself. And that's exactly what Hodges is doing. And it looks like another rider is going to benefit from that effort. And that's the best way to do it, is let someone else close down that final 20 meters, Nathan. Always nice to get a helping hand.
I think, though, look at this. James is going to do it. These other riders, though, that weren't with him in the same way, they're at risk.
They missed the boat. They've missed the
1
boat.
second, Gumbel just going to barely make it happen.
They're going to get there.
Just
they're going to get there.
It's because they looked at each other. It's because the front group started to slow it down and say, okay, enough is enough. And
everyone agreed with me, Nathan. They all said, yeah, why doesn't someone else do the work? That sounds good to me, right? And then you get too many guys doing that and no one's doing the work.
Benson and Louisel is here as well. We can see from the Canada 4A, though, but Mulligan now hammer weight 12 seconds is the difference. And these guys were with Hodges at a moment. So that's the difference right there. Knowing how to descend or not descend, when to push those orange numbers, when not to. So back in with the women's race, they are going to be heading in. It is only about 4 or 5K to the finish line here at this point. And we're still same situation except for Grossman and Bolt did not get back on terms. You were right about that. It was just a little bit too much to try and shut that down. So Cyrus with 3, ATP, I still believe 3 in there, and then it's going to be up against Wahoo. I believe only have 1 with Baker, if I'm not incorrect.
1 with Baker. 1 with Baker. Wow.
Benson and Louisel is here as well. We can see from the Canada 4A, though, but Mulligan now hammer weight 12 seconds is the difference. And these guys were with Hodges at a moment. So back in with the women's race, they are going to be heading in. It is only about 4 or 5K to the finish line here at this point. And we're still same situation except for Grossman and Bolt did not get back on terms. You were right about that. It was just a little bit too much to try and shut that down. So Cyrus with 3, ATP, I still believe 3 in there, and then it's going to be up against Wahoo. I believe only have 1 with Baker, if I'm not incorrect.
I'm going to use Christina Grossman as a teachable moment here because there is no doubt, Nathan, that this is the big leagues in ZRL, especially this A-level racing in America's East. That is the big leagues. And if you overextend yourself, and Christina worked really, really hard on, it was the volcano climb where, it unraveled a little bit for her. So the lesson there is sometimes you can overextend yourself. Santoyo is having a fantastic day as we take a look here at what's going to be a really interesting finale. Jennifer Santoyo, though, is a rider. I knew this would happen today, Nathan, with the volume of racing. It has been bananas today. And some riders have really stood out to me, and Santoyo is one of them.
Now, looking at the
Good job, Jennifer.
women's race, they're going to go through these springs. They're going to hit the ups and downs of the lower sections of the reverse Queen of the Mountain for Titans Grove, and then it's going to be a punch about 1.5 minutes to the finish. But in the B category, I do want to highlight this. They already went over the top of their Watopia forward. This group formed at the front, and then the moment they hit the bottom of the KOM, Matt Noble from Zwift HQ Rockets here went off the front here. And then the rest of the team has just kind of been sitting in. JMCK looks like Beckett now just hanging on. What a ride from Steve Beckett here. But Pay Dirty as well as TFC Apocalypse. Brett's is here as well. The Diesels are still hanging on. Mercury is in here as well. This is quite the race hotting up in the B category.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are motoring here. And again, how about Matt Noble today? He's on a bid to become a legend if he can hold on out of this group. So, again,
1:30 a.m.? Is he riding at 1:30? I believe Noble's still in the UK, unless he moved over to Long Beach. But 1:30 a.m. off the front. But no, it's going to be Dirty Diesels now hammering away. Goodbye with the sprint in the B category. And Lavoie coming out of Canada, followed up by Tate, just barely. Noble going to hold on for third. Eddie for the Diesels up against a little bit of a kick coming through from Brett's, but I don't think he got it. Will Beckett be able to hang on, or is it going to be no man's land? That's going to be the question here with JMC just hanging on. So lots of...
This one's blown to bits.
It's blown apart. So like shrapnel, it's just going to go everywhere, it looks like.
Yeah, it's every man for himself. Now, you'll see some regrouping happening out here. You got to give it up to the men in orange, though. This is the Zwift headquarters Rockets team, certainly representing well as we take a look at the very front of the race. Yeah, this is just shredded right now, and that's what the volcano climb will do, no doubt about it. So these guys are looking at 14K to go, so they're into the business end. But here's the real finale. We're going to rejoin the women's race now, and there you go, Nathan. These are the gladiators of the road. America's East has come down to this. We're just about hit 48K, meaning we've got 2 kilometers and a little bit of change ahead of us. It just got real out on Watopia. Buckle up. Here we go, Nathan.
Yeah, and Sisu, I raced like a girl, playing it quiet almost the entirety of the race here, maybe looking for that win. Cryogen also had an upset earlier today in one of the other women's races where it was a solo rider able to walk away with it. We'll see if it can happen again. Brady here, 3.5 watts per minute, 170 beats per minute. Let's take a look through here, see where everybody's kind of standing when it comes to efforts currently. ATP, they've been dominating so far when it came to the preems, but here comes Russell on the attack. A little bit, giving some effort here, 4.8, seeing what she can get away with. Brings it back in. Her teammate off the back a little bit because Rathwell continues to struggle. Well, 136. Is she just playing games, perhaps?
Well, Nathan, I got to give you credit. You really did nail that with Anna Russell doing a tremendous job using her head to keep cool, go back to this group, reset the bike race. And if Anna Russell wins, this one was done with the legs and the mind out here. I don't think anybody at the back of the group is doing that to decoy. It's just, can you hang on or not? Because they're really pressing now. You're going to see numbers that really stay over 5 watts per kilo for the rest of the way in this group. So that's going to be Alana Brady, who's really one of the outliers here for the Cryo Gallopin team. Alana having a great day, and now she's going to hit out for the finish. Let's see who's coming over the top. That's going to be Lucy Brash there in the pink and purple, but just sitting there. ATP Venom with 3 riders, including Rachel Lieberman. Nathan, it is really tough to say. I mean, is it going to be Anna Russell? Will it be Lieberman? Or does a third rider come along and snatch the top prize and the 30 points that goes with it here? Because all of these riders are going to be looking for these very, very valuable points. They'll get added up with their teammates, and we'll decide what team is going to win the first ever day of 10 racing here at the Zwift Racing League. All right, Nathan, they're really at 1K to go now.
Yeah, about K and a half or so as they go past the
little more, yeah.
Jarvis, yeah, a little more than 1K here. Really, it's right about there, though. They're going to be hitting up the section we've been talking about a lot as the mountain bikes will be on the right-hand side. Really quick mention. We'll go back to a replay. I just got to see, I got to show very quickly here. Not normal in the men's race. At even close to normal, what you usually see through that section of the course, it's been getting blown apart.
Wow.
And I mean, we're going to go back and look to get some replays as best we possibly can about how that all played out. We'll jump back in there and watch their finish.
Holy
we got to catch
cow.
in with the last K here in the women's race. So in the men's race, I thought for sure after that climb, it was all going to settle right on down. No, attacks left and right from the pack. So that's great to see. Now back in with Centoria, though, ATP trying to set things up. 3 riders. Sarge Pros Closet still in here, it looks like, with 2. And on the right-hand side, 3 riders. Stoll is in there as well. Now, Cryogen taking over. This is the bottom of the Queen of the Mountain.
Yeah, and Rachel Lieberman is perfectly positioned right now. So you definitely don't want to be on the front. You just want to be near the front. It's that really valuable real estate. There's a little bit of a split. Lieberman going to push on. Lucy Brash is still there, and that should be Anna Russell. Looks like she's going to be trying to get up and join this group here. Wow, this is going to be really, really interesting. Is Lieberman going to be able to have her will, assert her authority? We're going to find all of that out here in the next minute or so, as it is on like Donkey Kong here in the front group for the women. Nathan, they're bringing it in hot right now.
Interesting to see Anna Russell taking over at the front. Is she trying to set up her teammate? Because taking over at this point, I'm not sure. 5% gradient here. Will this be about just controlling the front of the race, though? Because a response from the front a lot of times is better than sitting too far back, and perhaps she found herself there.
Here comes Santoyo. And watch out for Santoyo as well. She's proven herself to be valuable here. That's going to be Lieberman in the gray and orange up on the front. This ride that we're looking at from Lucy Brash has been really impressive. Alana Brady also having an outstanding day. But let's find out who is going to be the strong woman. It gets sorted out. Their legs will do the talking now, Nathan. Anna Russell sitting 4th wheel there. But again, it's Rachel Lieberman on the front. But a lot of things can change here in the final few seconds of this race.
Yeah, now Lieberman now 6 watts per kilogram. That's one last left
started.
Turn in just a moment here, and it's going to be starts the post closet with Danceru here now with the move. 189 beats per minute. She's got the feather power up, and that was the setup from Anna Russell. She was giving this to her, and that's it. Lucy Brash tried to respond, but no. Anna Russell for 3rd, Lieberman for 4th, and Sarah's Pros Closet played that perfectly. Anna Russell controlled the front of the race, and then it was all said and done from there. Amazing moves. Sarsa Pros Closet, great job. Now, back in with the men's race. This is the situation right now. Pierre Ficati was just off the front, attack after attack. It was brought back in. I'm going to see if I can bring in a quick little replay of how this was playing out just a moment ago when it came to the men's race in just a moment. But, I mean, this was insanity earlier. This was the situation just a few moments ago. We were looking at the Finesse Wahoo team trying to chase things down from 24th place and see if we can get a little bit ahead. I mean, it was just attack after attack. This is trying to give you an idea how many power-ups were being thrown as they were going past the pens a little bit earlier. Pierre Ficati was out the front with this aero power-up. They got up to 5 seconds at one point. It was brought back together. And now, as we took the left-hand turn on over towards Titans Grove, we're back in it. Here we go into the climb. It's been just nonstop mayhem, attack after attack after attack. 4i was going out the front. We saw Finesse going out the front. Pierre Ficati from ODZ over and over again. Now Wadi Inc. is taking over.
Yeah, this is a really select group, and it's going to become even more select here in the next couple of kilometers, as you just witnessed with the women's race. These guys are not far at all from the finish line, Nathan, and you expect some really next-level racing here.
Yeah, pedal turn takers. Not familiar with this name, actually. Coming out of Canada. Interesting to see. This could be a complete wild card, actually.
Coming out of the woodwork.
That's what's happening here when you put together Zwift Racing League. You got the top esport recognition on the line. Well, that's what happens. You start finding all kinds of talent out here, and turn takers might be the one to take a turn at the front and take the win. Well, Tenselhoff is amazing.
Nathan Tenselhoff Yeah, really exceptional ride so far, and certainly someone to watch as he sits in this group here. I'll be honest, I had not heard of the turn takers before, so now I have. Making your mark here out on the Zwift Racing League.
Well,
This is our first day for the community.
if you go to my nemesis from on Zwift Power,
Oh, really?
from just a few, well, over the summer, Alex Tenselhoff was on that list. So Tenselhoff and I have gone, as well as Park. You know, this Wahoo team, this Finesse Wahoo team, they're on my
these
list.
guys.
They're on my list.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And I've seen, we have
They're on
suffered
Nathan's
together
hit list.
many of times. And so actually, they probably have me on their hit list because we go back and forth a whole lot. That's for sure. So we have a lot of fun racing in the Americas at night here, because around now is usually when I can jump on the bike. The kids either here, they go to bed or whatever it might be. And, you know, lots of dads inside riding trainers. So Tenselhoff, definitely a familiar name of pain when it comes to the Nathan Pain Cave, that's for sure. And that he's had an amazing ride today, grabbing a lot of preems.
Wouter Zwart is another rider. I just saw his name about a minute ago. I'd keep my eye on him as well. He's ready to pop a big result. Gagnon, like Canyon, as you said, always a guy to watch. Foo's been active today. Cryogen always in the mix here as we, now the guys are really at that less than 3K, more like 2.5K until this one is done and dusted out here. We got the bees out there as well. It's not a double dip, it's a triple dip of racing for you here today in Zwift community. What a great first day this has been. And I do want to remind everyone, Nathan, while we have just a moment here to squeeze this in, OJ Borg on Fridays is going to have a really fun review show to look back at the weekend racing. So there's so much to look forward to here. And I'm going to turn it back to you, Nathan. It is finale time.
Yeah, and this isn't the last race of the day. After these two sprints that we'll have in the B and in the A category here for the men, the America's West going to be thrown down with Dave in just about an hour and 15 times alongside of Kate Bates out of Australia. So lots still to happen here for the night in the men's and women's racing. For those two, there'll be two races we'll be following there for the A category, actually, in that league as well, or in that zone as well for the Zwift Racing League. Yankees now. Finesse Wahoo off the front again. They got the numbers to work with, and they're going to start rolling the dice a little bit. It looks like Arana there chases it down from KBS Elite, and then it's going to be Chronoter. Wadi Inc. looking for a result. See what they can pull off here. Jordan Shane, I think, may be the favorite on a punch like this, though.
I would agree. You know, right now, though, Nathan, the front of this bike race is like a paint shaker, right? I mean, you're just going to see changes happening all the time as different teams surge. They have a lot to work with here. Yankees, though, the Finesse Wahoo rider, you're going to see a lot of these blue Finesse kits in this group, that's for sure. And let's see if they can use those numbers to their advantage.
This is interesting. And, not usually something you see here, but is it going to pay off? Riders are off the back here. This is so great. Every one of these races has its own storyline. It's not the same over and over again. They're playing it differently across the board. It's so great to see it getting mixed up so in such different ways here on this race course. Each race has had racers make the race, where it's not this same old thing.
No, and that's the beauty of racing and giving these athletes the ability to do what they love so much. This satisfies that so hard. What would you say? Scratching that itch, right? As far as competition. Well, this solves that problem here because these guys are all in right now. This is going to bring out the best, and we're going to find a worthy winner for you here as they're bearing down on it now. Again, Nathan, it's an interesting trip to the finish line from here. Always watching out for the mountain bikers.
We're always watching out for the mountain bikes. They might just jump out of nowhere. You know, we really need through this section, like Jarvis the Bear, is one of those Tour de France moments where
jump the race.
Yeah, we need a mountain biker jumping the race. When it comes by, boom, there goes the mountain biker jumping the race. And then I take a right-hand turn and say, I'm out of here. I don't need to sprint because we'll go hit him on the dirt. But Zwart, I am seeing Sean McCormick in chat saying Zwart for the win, but he's on the front at an early point. We haven't seen this pay off as of yet. Maybe a lead out here. I wouldn't be surprised if there's actually a lead out for ATP, as he is in that new ATP kit for him on this. But he's into a feather power up, leading it out, trying to get these riders to respond.
And here we go, right here, right now. It just got real. You're going to see riders deploying the feather power-ups. If you got it, you're going to be using it because you certainly don't want to keep that one in your quiver. This is going to be Arana, the KBS Elite rider. He's got a nice little gap here, Nathan. This is going to be hard to bring back. This is not a little gap. It's a massive gap right now. 2 seconds is like a different zip code at this point.
Yeah, we're going to have a left-hand turn just ahead and then a second left turn. This is very deceiving right here. Little bit of an S turn. Then you think you're about to hit the finish line. No, there's one more left-hand turn after this one with another rise. And we do see 12 watts per kilogram coming from the finesse riders. Oh my God, ballooning. Wow. And it's going to be E Park trying to come across, but he's going to do it. Arana went way too early. And it looks like ballooning here, 199 beats per minute. I believe he's got the gap for him. Finesse might go 1-2 if Edwin Park can come across. Can Arana get another kick? He might hold off, but I believe Finesse have done at least the win, followed up by Arana holds on, Park for next. Then it's going to be Gagnon like a canyon, Pierre Ficati, I believe, for fifth. That was the situation out there. What a kick there, though, coming from the Finesse team, pulling off there. And it's going to be my French is just, it just doesn't work. My French Canadian.
You're good. You nailed it.
Did I?
I thought you were from Quebec. I felt like you
were
from Quebec. Yeah. No, that was really good, Nathan. And that was really quite a finale. I have to give credit there to Arana, the Colombian rider, for holding on there for second. Because every point matters out here. So we'll score that one 30 deep. I hear from our friends at WTRL, the World Tactical Racing League, pretty amazing that they've got Zwift Power up and running. I think we're going to jump in with the B's, and we are. Thank you, Nathan. ATP rider Tate is the rider we're focusing in on. This should be the front group, 46.3K in. There's Steve our man Beckett Steve Beckett riding out of his mind today.
Group.
What a monster. What a monster.
Here. Obviously, if you want to talk about the TTT getting people out here into the platform here now, the ZHQ Rockets were formed around the team time trial on Thursdays. Now they're at the front end of the B category here. Great to see. Wait, we're going to have to get Zada here involved. Steve, is it time for an upgrade, Steve? Time for an upgrade. Steve Beckett.
He's on the front.
A category, Steve. Killing it here. Oh, my goodness. This is pretty awesome to see.
There's never been a time better to say riding like a boss than what we're seeing right now from Steve Beckett. That's for sure here. Is Nathan, I think that ZHQ Rockets story is a great one, right? As the WTRL really got that team time trial rolling, they put together their own team, a few teams at the Zwift offices, and they have had an absolute blast with it. And I mean, again, it's been team building for the squad. These folks at Zwift are a close-knit group and riding out here together. And today, Nathan, do they have 4 riders in this front group right now? At least 3. Matt Noble has had a great ride. It looks like 3 riders up here. Yeah,
one rider
did
get dropped off a little bit earlier, I believe, but it is going to be JMC as well as Matt Noble and then Steve Beckett all making this front group. So an amazing ride by these guys. Jason Multer's in here coming from the dirt team, actually. So watch out for him in the sprint. T. Eddie from the diesel. I did see Multer doing a lot of sprint work, actually, over the last 2 weeks. So we'll have to wait and see if Jason's going to have to be able to pull this off here. Lots of practice, I think, coming from that dirt team. And dirt team definitely representing in chat, representing in the community. So I have a feeling they're going to have a lot of fans cheering them on.
Yeah, dirt, an acronym for Dad's Inside Riding Trainers. And they have, Nathan, is it more than 1,000? It must be more than 1,000 riders who identify as dirt riders. It's a movement of the people, no doubt about it. Taking a look, though, at this, easily over 1,000, right? So they are getting there, Nathan, within 3K. Well, let's go ahead and use a little over 3K to the finish. I see it's really more like 51 on the clock.
Yeah, about 3K to go. 3K to go, maybe a little bit under that. So Bellinger now, Mercury. Let's go ahead and make sure we catch everybody who's in this B category coming to the line here. And just make sure we give shout-outs all across as we're in the B pool for this race out here. So in this league group, making it, it does look like it's going to be Carl Bellinger from the Mercury team, Ben Dowling for ATP, and then it's going to be Dan Sheremito, Jeff Marson for RR Northern Rhinos. Jared Watts has also made it looks like, along with Jason Bretz and then Jason Molcher. Matt Levasseur for the Dirty Diesels. Matt Noble, obviously, for ZHQ Rockets. And then Michael Tate for ATB Neon. Steve Beckett for the ZHQ Rockets. Stefan Lavoie, Troy Eddy, and JMCK riding for the Rockets as well. So I believe we got everybody there that has made the lead group. So solid result here. And that's going to be for out to, I'm looking, 14th place. So all these riders are going to be grabbing up to 16 points for their team. And ZHQ Rockets, actually,
they could take the team lead.
Yeah, yep. ATP, Dirt, and ZHQ, they're the most represented here with the most on the line, because you stack the podium 20, 19, 18. You know, I mean, like, as far as the points go.
It's so, yeah. I mean, if you put 2 riders in the top 5, you should be good, I would think. As far as those points go. Again, remembering, so you take all of the points on one team, and then we'll compare the 20 teams racing in this division and see how it all sorted out here today. So we do have an individual race winner, and there you go. They're pressing hard right now, Nathan. This might split the group, to tell you the truth. That's going to be Tate, the ATP rider, taking a big dig. A lot of resiliency being shown by this group. Again, our B men bringing it home here, and it's starting to string out. So here we go. We're locked and loaded, guys. This is not a drill. Big-time bike racing coming in hot. Little over 2K to, let's just use 2K to go right now.
Yeah, it's going to be Jay Watts here. TFC Apocalypse. Solo rider for TFC, actually. We might have missed him a little bit earlier being involved in this. And now they are dropping a couple of riders, and the pressure is on. It looks like Jason Molcher not going to be able to make that sprint we were talking about earlier from the Dirt team, falling off pace. Sharamito now as well. Oh, he's going to drag himself back onto the draft. 180 beats per minute now. Back in on the back here as well. 170, but now it looks like Dowling going out the back. They're dropping like flies, Dave. Obviously, the pressure is on at the front, as it's going to be, I believe, Tate from ATP that's really pressing this pace.
Yeah, and this is where I just want to give a shout out to Zwift Racing League and these community races, because this is the community. How much does this mean to these guys? How deep are they going to dig? I love it. If you want to find the best you, this is a really, really good place to do it, as we watch Tate right now. Nathan, this group is dwindling down to about a dozen riders still with a shot to take a massive win. And there's 3 teams really that have got a decent shot now at being our first ever team leader out of this America East division. Gentlemen, it is on like Donkey Kong here, as they're getting very, very close to the final kilometer of racing to sort this one out on what has been a brilliant day of racing here on the Zwift Racing League.
I think Beckett is suffering a little bit here, as we are seeing that drafting power up being used, or maybe being smart about it. He could be on the reserve, looking for that final kick, waiting for that final moment to kick here. 164 beats per minute. I saw him up in the 175 earlier. So either his heart rate's fading, or perhaps he has something left for a sprint here. Now it's going to be Tate, ATP, taking over again. He's just trying to make it a race of attrition, it seems like, rather than setting up for a sprint, trying to just get everybody to drop off. But JMC, it looks like Kate trying to make something happen. 175, 411 watts. Now it's going to be Dowling here. ATP, they were so dominant in the other races, but Bellinger now, the Mercury team here with the feather power up. That's going to be the move. I don't think anybody can respond, but no, GHQ coming across, 10 watts per kilogram. Tate now looks to respond. Will be able to make it happen. 10 watts per kilogram coming from Tate, but it's going to be the HQ Rockets. ZHQ Rockets take it down. Gap, I'm not sure that's going to be able to close down, Dave. I think that is said and done. There's still a corner or 2 to go, but he's got orange numbers all day long. Tate can't make it happen.
That's how you do it. A collective team effort delivers the gold. That gap's not coming back. The finish line is in sight, just up the road. Jay McKay in full effect here. Nathan, this was a sweet one. Again, you always got to get your front wheel over that line. They're never going to give you any quarter out here, but I think this one was enough. The ZHQ Rockets lead. Now, every spot matters here, so let's see how we're scoring. It's going to be Tate of ATP for silver, Lavoie for third, Eddie of the D. Wow, what a mix. 5 different teams in your top 5. That's your first team to go second, so Noble maybe 7th there, but that's going to be a first and a seventh. So is it enough for the Rockets? We'll see. They're tabulating the points as we speak, Nathan. And again, we've still got riders out on course that are going to be scoring critical points for their team. It goes 30 deep at the finish here.
Dowling now going to be coming across the line for ATP. Solid. 12 places you see. Now, Jason, he was dropped off from the main group. The second one to get dropped off from that main group, actually, as Marson from the Rhinos there was a little further back. So Muchler going to be able to grab that for the dirt there for 13th place. And then it's going to be Rhinos coming through for 14th. Still a lot of points on the line. It looks like Cryogen here looking for that 15th early attack and just breaking everyone with 6 watts per kilogram here in this B category. Wadi Inc. now with Turco. And then this is the main group here with Desrosier making his way to the front. But no, it's going to be Lee from ATP Neon trying to chase down the attack here from Wadi Inc. Marson from Rhinos is going to come across the line in 14th. And then that's quite the kick, actually, coming on through. Lee, he might even be able to catch the Cryogen rider. No, Cryogen's gone. 5 seconds up. Not going to happen.
Yeah, so again, in this points-based format, these riders are playing a critical role for their team. So they're, if you call it in real life, in the money, they're still in the points here. So it makes a big difference, the depth that your team has. It's no longer about just one rider winning. It's about the whole unit out there.
Yeah, and everybody has a role to play. A lot of times, you know, we heard this over and over again. As we see Alex coming across the line here. Now we've got Desrosier. Now we see Arnier. All of these athletes, as they come across the line all the way out to 30th place, they definitely matter because a lot of times in Zwift racing in general, when it comes to scratch racing, it's an individual sport where it's like in Zwift, it didn't feel like it had a whole lot of efficacy. My effort might not have mattered as much as it could have otherwise. And that's why this team format is so great. Every point's going to matter for the win on the day. The team that comes across with the most points on the day, they're going to end up being the team that wins the 20 points for first place for the league results, right? So you accumulate all the points, then the team with the most points for the day ends up with 20 points toward the league for first place, all the way down through 20th place for 1 point. So every point matters. It's great to see the way this is organized because everybody feels like they can be a part of the race all the way up to 30th place. There's a battle going on for 1 point back here, you know, between these racers all the way up to 30th. And this is for it right here. All these guys are going to score. Now it's whether or not it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5 really at the back here.
Yeah, these are the final points that are left on the table, and these guys are going to gobble them up here as we're going to wrap things up for our B racing here today. But that doesn't end racing for the day, Nathan, as we're just going to shift gears here and transition into our America's West Racing League coming up next. The hits don't quit here on the ZRL. I will say this, Nathan, this has been the most exciting day of racing that I have seen in a long time. Certainly from what we have seen today, it's been like watching 5 different Emmy Award winning movies, right? They're all a different story, but they're all enjoyable. That's for sure.
Been absolutely awesome. Let's real quickly here, just as a reminder about what, if you're just tuning in, you're just jumping in here, like what is going on here? You are watching the Zwift Racing League. It's just launching. You're familiar with Zwift Community Live. You're like, I didn't know this was going on. Well, this is the largest Zwift indoor racing league system. It's a collaboration between Zwift and WTRL, global league structure, 10 weeks of racing. There's 250 events total. Premier Division, that was yesterday. I did see that yesterday, I did see a question here in chat asking when was the Premier League. That was yesterday. That happens on Mondays. The community racing happens on Tuesdays. With the 6 other leagues, 60 divisions, 1,200 teams, 6,000 riders, and every other week it'll be scratch racing. That's this week. Next week, TTT, alternating throughout the 10 weeks. Want to sign up? You still can. Registration opens back up tomorrow, Wednesday, for the WTRL.racing. Head on over there for your sign up. So that's the situation there. We're going to be having results coming in here, I believe. We've got the men's as well as the women's side of things on the A category. Been amazing racing as we can get the scratch race across the line. I'll go ahead and show those results, and we'll see if we can also grab the B category here for the men's side of things, as that was quite a kick across the line there coming in that B category race. So let's go take a quick look here how things played out in that A category across the line. That is going to be, leave that for you, Dave. See, how's your French Canadian there, Dave?
It's très bien. So Greg Bouillot taking the win, the Canadian there. Seth Arana taking second. Edwin Park in third. Alex Tenosov not only wins the King of the Mountain, but ends up fourth on the day. Alexander Gagnon in fifth. Justin Purificati in sixth. Jordan Shane. And look at Canada. Oh, Canada with five riders in our top 10. Jordan Shane in seventh, and the American Jake Campbell in eighth. Frederic Munier in ninth, and then Chad Butts rounding out our top 10. And Nathan, look at that range. Pretty similar there between 4.7 and 4.2 watts per kilo is what it took to stay in that front group today.
Yeah, amazing result there. And then we saw that kick coming from Cyrus the Pro's closet with Annabella Den Seru. Wow. And she distanced herself. She really, that half a second, it might not look like it on paper there, but that was a solid sprint there. Lucy Brash, Anna Russell really played her cards right for the team there. Did a good job leading things out. I do believe she does play a very good leadership role on that Cyrus the Pro's closet. So great job by her playing it smart. The mad scientist move to back off and keep everything together and get two on the podium there. Rachel Liebran, I'd say the most aggressive rider on the day, and you can see it in the watts per kilogram at 4.3, the highest on the board there for fourth place across the line. Anna Radford, Alana Brady, and it's going to be Jennifer Santoyo, Danielle Baker, followed up by Megan Rathwell, and Claire Cameron. Now, that is for the scratch race for points for 30 points down to 20, but that is not for the teams on the day. Now, just as some, housekeeping, just so everybody knows, today, Zwift Power did get a little bit overwhelmed, as well as keeping up with all of the registration. It did overwhelm us a little bit when it comes to getting all the boards set up in time with all of the teams. With 1,200 teams, we were expecting a lot of registration, but it's 1,200 teams, and we actually had to shut down registration on Sunday night temporarily. You can still register throughout the entirety of the season. We just had to shut it down to say, we can't take on anymore. We got to get this organized. So because of that, getting all the tables and everything set up for the team points, we'll have all the team points set up by next week. So usually what you'll see is who the leading team is now at the end of the broadcast, at the end of the day, who took the 20, 19, 18, all the way down to 1 point for the teams. And then you'll be able to look at a league structure as where things stand for the league overall. As we get into the second week, get into the TTT, we'll start seeing where the divisions start lining up, where teams line up against each other. So there's some housekeeping there. If people are wondering where are the results, well, make sure you head over to WTRL.racing, sign up your team if you haven't done it already, and check out the results over there. They'll be up and happening as soon as we possibly can. Martin and the guys over at WTRL, they're working really hard with Zwift to get everything in order.
Yeah, absolutely, Nathan. We're not done, as we'll be back pretty quickly here with the America's West region of racing. So we've talked about Monday having our Premier League, the Community League today, and we're just about there to wrap up what has been an incredibly exciting and encouraging first day of racing for us with the community, but first week of racing for the ZRL. Outstanding job to all of our racers today. Always appreciate the show that you put on.
It's been a ton of fun. Great job to all the racers as always. Again, WTRL.racing for the results. We will be back next week. If you didn't know already, next week is going to be the TTT on the RGV course, the new course out in France, in the French world that was recently released with the virtual Tour de France. So make sure to get ready for that. Join the WTRL TTT maybe on Thursday. Sign up for that. Closes Wednesday afternoon Central Time, 1 p.m. Central Time. So maybe if you want to get a warm-up, throw a team out there for that, because you're going to have to know how to do a TTT if you want to be able to win next week or get your team involved there. So I have a feeling we're going to have a big TTT this week because of that, though. But thank Thanks everybody for tuning in. You want to know when all the broadcasts are? Hit that follow button. Hit that subscribe button. Great job to all the racers. Thanks to all of you guys out there in chat as well. And we'll see you in a little less than an hour. It's not going to be me. I'm going to take a break. Dave's going to take over my spot. Katie Bates will be here in just a few moments. And as always, everybody, ride on.